I felt the room spinning before I even hit the floor. 4 months pregnant, drugged, and the man who poisoned me was still smiling across the ballroom like he'd won. But he didn't know my husband yet. He didn't know what happens when you touch what belongs to Dante Ravenna. The crystal chandelier above me fractured into 1,000 glittering pieces as my knees buckled. I pressed one hand against my swollen belly, 4 months, our first child, and grabbed the silk tablecloth with the other. The champagne. Someone had laced my champagne. My vision blurred, my pulse hammering against my temples like fists on glass. Across the gala floor, through the crowd of diamond-dripping socialites and politicians, I locked eyes with him. Dante, my husband. The man every person in this room feared but pretended to respect. His expression didn't change, but I saw it. That cold, lethal shift in his posture. New. And in that moment, I realized something worse than the poison coursing through my veins. Everyone who had touched that glass, everyone who had planned this, everyone who had even looked at me wrong tonight, they were already dead. They just didn't know it yet. If you're ready to hear the entire story, every twist, every heart-stopping moment, every secret revealed, hit that subscribe button right now. And here's the thing, drop a comment below telling me where you're watching from, because tomorrow, I'm bringing you another story that's just as wild, just as unbelievable as this one. Trust me, you do not want to miss what happens next. The glass slipped from my fingers. It seemed to fall in slow motion, tumbling through the air before exploding against the white marble. The sound cut through the string quartet like a gunshot. Blood welled from my palm where a shard had sliced deep. I watched it drip, bright red against my silver gown, and thought about the baby. Our secret. The pregnancy we hadn't told anyone about because this world, Dante's world, was too dangerous for softness. Someone screamed. A woman in pearls, her face twisted in horror as I crumpled. The tablecloth came with me, sending crystal and china crashing. My cheek hit cold stone. The ballroom ceiling swam above me, all gold leaf and painted angels mocking me with their serenity. Then he was there. Dante moved through the crowd like a shark through water. People scattered. A senator stumbled backward, champagne sloshing from his glass. A socialite pressed herself against the wall, eyes wide with animal recognition of a predator. He didn't run, didn't shout, but something in his gait made grown men step aside. He dropped to his knees beside me, his tuxedo jacket spreading around us like black wings. His hands found my face, tilting it toward him. Those dark eyes, the ones that had looked at me with such tenderness this morning, when I told him the baby had kicked for the first time, were empty now, void of everything except calculation. Seraphine. My name was a command. Look at me. I tried. God, I tried. But the room kept tilting. My stomach twisted violently. Bile rose in my throat. The champagne, I whispered. Each word felt like lifting stones. Someone. I know. His thumb brushed my cheekbone. Gentle. The last gentle thing I'd see from him tonight. He turned his head slightly, not taking his eyes off me, and spoke to someone behind him. Lock it down. Every exit. No one leaves. No one. Boss. There are over 300 people. Did I stutter? Luca? Silence. Then footsteps. Running. Dante's hands slid down to my shoulders, then lower, pressing against my belly. Checking. Always checking. At 48, he'd never thought he'd be a father. Never wanted to be. Until me. Until this. The baby kicked weakly against his palm, and I saw something flicker across his face. Pain. Rage. Murder. The baby, I managed. My tongue felt thick. Wrong. Dante, the baby, will be fine. His voice was iron. You're both going to be fine. But first, I need to know who did this. He lifted me like I weighed nothing. My head lolled against his chest. I could hear his heartbeat. Steady, controlled, utterly calm. That scared me more than the poison. Dante was never calm unless he was planning something terrible. The ballroom erupted in chaos. Women shrieked as men in black suits appeared from nowhere, blocking doors, grabbing phones from hands, pushing Chicago's elite back against walls like cattle. The orchestra stopped mid-note. Someone shouted about lawyers. Someone else about the mayor. Dante didn't care. He carried me past the ice sculpture of two swans. How romantic, the event coordinator had said. Now, melting into a puddle that looked like blood in the red emergency lights someone had activated. Past the silent auction tables where people had been bidding thousands on artwork and vacations. Past the terrified faces of people who'd never seen real violence, only heard whispers of it. A waiter blocked our path. Young, maybe 25, his bow tie crooked. He held a tray of champagne flutes that trembled in his hands. Dante stopped, looked at him, just looked. The waiter's face went white. The tray clattered to the floor. He ran. "Mark him," Dante said quietly to someone I couldn't see, "and find out who hired the catering staff tonight." My vision was darkening at the edges. I could feel my pulse in my teeth. The baby kicked again, frantic little movements that felt like Morse code. "Help us. Help us. Help us. Stay with me, Seraphine." Dante's voice cut through the fog. "Don't you dare leave me." But I was falling through the floor, through the earth, through everything. And the last thing I saw before the darkness took me was that man across the ballroom. The one who'd been smiling. He wasn't smiling anymore. He was running. Word count, 750. The private lounge smelled like leather and old money. Dante kicked the door open. Some sort of very important person room the venue kept for donors, and laid me on a velvet sofa that probably cost more than most people's cars. My head rolled to the side. I couldn't stop it. Couldn't control my own body anymore. "Get a doctor." Dante's voice was still calm. Too calm. "Now, boss, if we bring someone from outside." I said now. The words were soft, deadly. "Or I'll need a doctor for you too." Footsteps. Running. A door slamming. Dante knelt beside me, his fingers finding my pulse at my throat. Counting. I tried to focus on his face, but it kept splitting into 2, then 3. His jaw was tight, a muscle jumping beneath the skin. That was the only sign that he was anything other than perfectly controlled. My stomach convulsed. I tried to turn, to warn him, but he already knew. He lifted me, one arm beneath my shoulders, the other supporting my back, and held me as I vomited onto the Persian rug. Everything came up. The champagne, the appetizers I'd been too nervous to eat, bile that burned my throat raw. "That's it," he murmured against my hair. "Get it out." When it was over, I collapsed against him, shaking. My whole body felt like it was trying to turn inside out. The baby. Oh God, the baby. I pressed my hand to my stomach, searching for movement. "Please. Please." There. A flutter. Weak, but there. "The baby's moving," I gasped. Dante's hand covered mine. For just a moment, his fingers tightened. Then he was back to business, laying me down, checking my pupils, my pulse, the color of my skin. He'd seen enough poisonings to know what to look for. That should have terrified me. It didn't. It made me feel safer. "How long ago did you drink it?" he asked. 10 minutes. Maybe 15. Time felt elastic. Wrong. "Before you were talking to Senator Morrison." His eyes went dark. "Morrison was standing near you?" "No, I don't know. There were so many people." My words were slurring. "A waiter brought it to me. Said it was from you." "I didn't send you anything. I know that now." The door burst open. A man stumbled in, older, gray-haired, still in his tuxedo with a medical bag clutched in white-knuckled hands. Behind him, Luca stood with a gun pressed to the small of his back. "Dr. Chen." Dante didn't stand, didn't look away from me. "How fortunate that you're attending tonight's gala." "What's happening?" "Your man said, 'My wife has been poisoned. You're going to help her. If she dies, you die. If the baby dies, you die slowly. Are we clear?'" The doctor's face went from red to white in seconds. "Baby? 4 months pregnant. Late pregnancy for her age. High risk already. And someone just tried to kill them both." Dante finally looked at him. "So I suggest you work fast." Dr. Chen dropped to his knees beside the sofa, hands shaking as he opened his bag. He checked my vitals, pupils, pulse, blood pressure, while I drifted in and out. His voice seemed to come from very far away. Heartbeat is erratic, blood pressure dropping. Without knowing what she ingested, assume the worst. Mr. Ravenna, I need to get her to a hospital. No, she could die. She could also die on the way there when whoever did this sends backup. She stays here. You stabilize her here. Find me solutions, doctor, not problems. I wanted to laugh. That was so Dante. The world could be ending, and he'd demand it stop, and somehow it would obey. But laughing required muscles I didn't have control over anymore. The baby kicked again, harder this time. Urgent. The baby, I managed. Check the baby. Dr. Chen looked at Dante, who nodded once. The doctor lifted my gown, silver silk now stained with vomit and blood, and pressed something cold against my stomach. A portable fetal monitor. Where had that come from? I didn't care. Just needed to know. The heartbeat filled the room. Fast. Too fast. Fetal distress, Dr. Chen said quietly. The baby's heart rate is elevated. Whatever she ingested is affecting them both. From somewhere far away, I heard a sound like bone breaking, then screaming. Not here, out in the hallway. Close enough to be real, far enough to feel like a nightmare. Dante didn't flinch. That's one suspect down. Bring me the next. My vision was tunneling again. But through the growing darkness, I saw Dante's face above me. He bent down, his forehead touching mine. Fight, he whispered. Just to me. Just for me. Fight for our baby, Seraphine. I'll fight for everything else. I woke to voices, low, urgent. The kind of conversation that stops when someone realizes you're listening. My eyelids felt like sandpaper. Every muscle in my body ached. But I was alive, and when I pressed my hand to my stomach, I felt it, a small, defiant kick. The baby was still fighting. She's awake. Dante's voice, close to my ear. I forced my eyes open. The room had changed. Or maybe I'd been moved. No, same velvet sofa, same Persian rug, now stained with my sickness. But the space had been transformed into something else. A command center, a war room. 3 massive monitors were set up on the mahogany desk, each showing different angles of security footage. The Gala, black and white images of people laughing, drinking, mingling, looking for all the world like civilized human beings instead of the vipers they were. Dante sat beside me, one hand resting on my hip. Possessive, even now, especially now. His other hand held a tablet, his thumb scrolling through images with surgical precision. How long was I out? My voice came out cracked, raw. 20 minutes. He didn't look at me, kept his eyes on the screens. Dr. Chen gave you something to counteract the sedative. You're stable. The baby's stable. Heart rate is back to normal. 20 minutes. It felt like hours. Like years. Who did this? I'm about to find out. He tapped the tablet, and one of the monitors froze. Rewound. Played again. There. See that? I struggled to sit up. Pain lanced through my skull, but I pushed through it. Had to see. Had to know. On the screen, I watched myself. Silver gown, one hand on my barely there belly, the other accepting a champagne flute from a waiter. Young. Dark hair. Bow tie slightly crooked. The same one who dropped his tray and run when Dante carried me past. He's in the kitchen, Luca said from somewhere behind us. My men have him. Good. Bring him to the ballroom. Dante scrolled further back. But he's not working alone. Look, the footage jumped to a different angle. A woman in a red dress, stunning, probably mid-30s, dripping in diamonds, intercepted the waiter before he reached me. She spoke to him briefly, touched his arm, then walked away. 30 seconds later, he brought me the champagne. Vivian Ashcroft, Dante said. Socialite. Runs in the same circles as the Corsini family. My stomach dropped. The Corsinis, Chicago's second most powerful crime family. The only one stupid enough to challenge Dante's empire. She's here tonight? She was. Dante's smile was cold, empty. She tried to leave 10 minutes ago. Threw a fit when my men stopped her. Said something about calling her lawyer. He looked at me finally, those dark eyes searching my face. Do you remember seeing her near you? I closed my eyes, tried to piece together fragments of memory through the drug fog. The ballroom, the crowd, so many faces. But yes, there, a flash of red. A woman complimenting my dress, asking when the baby was due. My eyes snapped open. She knew. What? She knew I was pregnant. She asked me when I was due. But Dante, we haven't told anyone. Not even your family knows. The tablet cracked in his hand. Just slightly. A hairline fracture across the screen. What exactly did she say? She said, I tried to remember. My brain felt like it was moving through honey. She said I was glowing. Asked if it was my first. I didn't answer. Didn't confirm anything. But she knew, which means someone's been watching us. Dante stood abruptly. Paced to the monitors. Luca. Pull footage from the past 3 months. Our home, the doctor's office. Everywhere Seraphine's been. Boss, that's thousands of hours. Then get more people. I want to know who's been following my wife, and when they figured out she was pregnant. A door opened. 2 of Dante's men dragged someone in, a woman in an elegant black gown, her makeup smeared, zip ties cutting into her wrists. She was crying, mascara running down her cheeks in black rivers. I didn't do anything, she sobbed. I'm just the event coordinator. I don't know anything about. You approved the catering staff. Dante's voice was flat. Every name that worked tonight went through you. Yes, but I didn't. I just approved the list the agency sent. It's always the same agency. We've used them for years. Who requested changes to tonight's staff? The woman's face went white. There was one change. Last minute. The agency called 2 days ago. Said one of their regular waiters had called in sick. Asked if they could send a replacement. And you said yes. It happens all the time. I didn't think. Dante looked at Luca. Find the agency. Find out who made that call. And bring me Vivian Ashcroft. Already being brought up, boss. The door opened again. This time they dragged in the woman in red. Vivian. She wasn't crying. Wasn't begging. She looked furious. This is kidnapping, she spat. Do you have any idea who my father is? Alderman Ashcroft. City Council. Takes bribes from the Corsini family to look the other way. Dante smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. Did I miss anything? Her mouth opened. Closed. She'd underestimated him. They all did. Dante moved closer to her. Close enough that she had to tilt her head back to maintain eye contact. You spoke to my wife tonight. You knew she was pregnant. How? I don't know what you're talking about. Wrong answer? He nodded to Luca. Luca grabbed her hand, bent her pinky finger back. Not enough to break. Yet, just enough to promise what was coming. Wait. Vivian's composure cracked. Wait, please, I'll tell you. Just please. Dante held up a hand. Luca stopped. I was supposed to confirm it, Vivian gasped. That's all. Just confirm she was pregnant and text confirmation to a number. I swear I didn't know they were going to hurt her. My blood ran cold. They'd been testing, making sure I was actually pregnant before they struck, which meant this wasn't just about killing me. This was about killing Dante's heir. The number, Dante said. Give it to me. I don't have my phone. Your men took it. Dante snapped his fingers. Someone handed him a phone. Her phone. He unlocked it. How did he have her passcode? And scrolled through her messages. His face didn't change. Didn't betray anything. But I saw his knuckles go white around the phone. Marco Corsini, he said quietly. You've been texting with Marco Corsini. Vivian started crying again. Real tears this time. He said it was just information. Just keeping tabs. He didn't say, how much did he pay you? $50,000. That's what my life was worth. What my baby's life was worth. The room spun again, But this time, it wasn't the drugs. It was rage. Dante looked at me, really looked at me, and I saw the question in his eyes. What do you want me to do? I thought about the baby kicking inside me, about how close we'd come to losing everything, about this woman who'd sold us out for money she'd probably spend on jewelry. I want to watch, I said. They brought in chairs, 3 of them, heavy oak, the kind from the Gala's main dining room. They placed them in the center of the lounge, spaced just far enough apart that the occupants couldn't quite touch each other, close enough to hear each other scream. Hit that subscribe button right now. Tell me this. Would you survive one night in this world, or would you run? Comment, stay or escape. Vivienne was first. They tied her to the center chair, her red dress hiked up, her diamonds glittering under the chandelier light. She'd stopped crying, started praying instead, whispered fragments of the Lord's Prayer that made me want to laugh. Now she remembered God? The waiter came next. He was young, couldn't be more than 23. His face was already bruised. Someone had worked him over in the kitchen. He was sobbing before they even tied him down. Please, he kept saying. Please. I have a little sister. She's sick. I needed the money. The third chair stayed empty for now. Waiting. Dante stood in front of them, hands in his pockets, looking for all the world like he was at a business meeting instead of an interrogation. Dr. Chen had moved to the corner of the room, as far from the chairs as possible. He kept checking his watch, kept looking at the door, but he didn't leave. Couldn't leave. Dante owned him now, at least for tonight. Here's how this works, Dante said conversationally. I'm going to ask questions. You're going to answer. Every lie costs you a finger. Every omission costs you a tooth. And if I think you're holding back? He shrugged. Well, let's not find out. I sat on the sofa, one hand on my stomach, watching. I should have been horrified. The woman I was before tonight, the art curator who believed in due process and civilized society, would have been. But that woman had died the moment I felt the poison hit my bloodstream. The moment I'd felt my baby's frantic kicks and wondered if we'd both see morning. This woman, the one sitting here now, wanted blood. You first. Dante pointed at the waiter. What's your name? Kyle. Kyle Morrison. His voice shook so badly, the words almost didn't form. Morrison. Dante's head tilted. Any relation to Senator Morrison? My uncle. But he doesn't. We're not close. He doesn't know about this. Interesting. And who hired you to poison my wife, Kyle Morrison? A man. I don't know his name. He approached me outside my apartment 3 days ago, offered me $20,000, said all I had to do was make sure a specific woman drank from a specific glass. 20,000. Dante looked at Vivienne. You got 50. He got 20. Someone's making money off my family's blood. The waiter, Kyle, started crying harder. My sister has cancer. Stage 4. The treatments, insurance won't cover. I don't care. Dante's voice cut through the excuses like a blade. Your sister's tragedy doesn't give you permission to murder my child. What did the man look like? Tall, dark hair, scar on his cheek. He had an accent. Italian, I think. Marco Corsini. Kyle's face said that name meant nothing to him. He really was just a desperate kid who'd made a terrible choice. That almost made it worse. Almost. What was in the glass? I don't know. He gave me a vial. Said to pour it in the champagne right before I served it. Said it would just make her sick, make her lose the baby. He didn't say it would. His voice broke. I didn't know it would kill her. The room went very quiet. Even the sounds from the hallway, the screaming, the chaos, seemed to fade. You knew she was pregnant, I said. My first words since they'd started. Everyone looked at me. You knew and you still did it. You tried to kill my baby. I'm sorry. He was sobbing now, full body shaking. I'm so sorry. I wasn't thinking. No, you weren't. I stood up. My legs were shaky, but I made them work. Made myself walk over to him. How's your sister, Kyle? What's her name? He looked up at me, confused. Emma. Her name's Emma. Emma. I bent down so we were eye level. I hope she survives. I hope she lives a long, beautiful life. But you're never going to see it. You understand that, right? His face crumpled. I straightened, looked at Dante. He can go last. I want her first. Dante nodded to Luca, who moved behind Vivian's chair. She started struggling immediately, pulling against the zip ties hard enough to draw blood. No, wait. I told you everything. The number, the texts. What more do you want? I want to know how long you've been watching us. Dante pulled up a chair, sat down in front of her. Casual. Comfortable. Months? Weeks? 6 weeks. Maybe 2 months. I don't... Luca grabbed her hand, bent her pinky back. The crack echoed through the room. Vivian screamed. The sound was raw, animal. 2 months, Dante said patiently. That's more specific. What were you watching for? Signs of pregnancy. She was gasping, tears streaming. Marco said there were rumors that your wife had been seen at a fertility clinic. He wanted confirmation. My stomach dropped. The fertility clinic. We'd gone there 4 months ago before I'd conceived naturally. We'd been so careful. Used a fake name. Paid cash. But someone had seen us anyway. Who else knows? Dante asked. Just Marco and me. And whoever he reports to. He reports to someone, his uncle, Salvatore Corsini, the head of the family. From the hallway came a commotion, shouting. Then the door burst open, and they dragged him in. The man from the ballroom, the one who'd been smiling? He wasn't smiling now. His tuxedo was torn. His face was bloody. And when he saw Vivian tied to the chair, her finger bent at an impossible angle, his eyes went wide with understanding. Marco Corsini. Dante stood. So good of you to join us. Marco Corsini looked every bit the prince turned to villain. Tuxedo soaked, knuckles split, blood on his teeth, and a slanted smile that dared anyone to touch him. When Vivian saw him, her sobs stopped. Instead, her eyes flashed pure hate. The little alliances splintered. The true danger flooded the velvet room. You expect me to beg? Marco spat, voice thick with contempt. The Queen of Chicago cowers behind her husband and thinks I'll get on my knees? Dante's stare drew silence like a blade. He didn't answer, just reached into his pocket and withdrew a razor-sharp stiletto, holding it up for every trembling person to see. Marco's laugh was coarse, ugly. Go on, kill me. You'll still lose everything. She's already bleeding. Seraphine stiffened. The pressure between her legs was sharp, warm, her heart thundering in her throat. She pressed her palm against her belly, desperate to feel movement. She pushed through the dread, forcing stillness. You poisoned my wife. My child, Dante replied, voice low and lethal. Your fate was sealed the moment you touched my family. Marco rolled his head, cracking his neck. I didn't want her dead. I wanted your empire. You're weak now, Ravenna. Sentimental, ruled by a... Dante's hand whipped out, the blade glancing Marco's cheek, a fresh line of blood. You've forgotten who taught you fear, he hissed. Marco's bravado faltered. He flicked a glance at Vivian, whose terrified plea was only a whisper. Marco, don't. Please. But Marco's arrogance bled through. She bled. The baby's lost. You may as well finish me yourself. Seraphine tasted metal, panic rising. She locked eyes with Dante. Her lips quivered, voice thin but certain. Don't let him destroy us. Not tonight. Not ever. Luca, ever silent, tightened his grip on Marco's arm, forcing him to kneel, face pressed against the velvet carpet. The Gala's gleam was long gone. Everyone trapped inside heard the rumors now spiraling through the walls. Ravenna revenge was legend. Now it was embodied. Dante crouched beside Marco, voice as soft as a lover's confession. If my family suffers one more beat, one more lost breath, you won't die clean, Marco. You'll die screaming, and every Corsini will know why. Marco met Dante's eyes, searching for mercy but finding none. Seraphine felt the world spinning again, the desperate fight for her baby surging against the poison. The blood soaking her dress began to pool beneath her, and Dr. Chen darted to her side, frantic. "She's bleeding out. We need a medevac. Now!" Everything blurred. Dante's eyes flicked between Marco and Seraphine, between vengeance and the life he'd fought so hard to protect. His voice cracked, shattering the ice. "Luca, finish it!" With brutal efficiency, the room erupted. A final scream, a wet snap, and Marco collapsed, limp. Dante's rage cooled to terror as he rushed to Seraphine's side, arms scooping her up with a possessive, trembling gentleness the world would never see. "Hold on. You hear me?" He brushed her sweat-damp hair, his lips at her ear. "I'll protect you, even if it costs my life." Security crashed through the doors, carrying medical equipment and chaos. Dante pressed his mouth to Seraphine's forehead, voice raw. "Don't close your eyes. Stay, stay." The last thing Seraphine felt before darkness was the desperate heartbeat of her child, pulsing between fear and hope, a life balanced on the edge. Dante barely heard the wail of sirens. The armored car sped through downtown Chicago, red lights slicing open the night. Seraphine sprawled across his lap, blood spilling from beneath her dress, her eyelids fluttering. Dr. Chen barked orders from the back seat, slamming 4S into Seraphine's trembling arm. "Keep her conscious, we're losing her." "And the baby!" Dante's composure shattered. He gripped Seraphine's hand like a lifeline. "Stay with me, mi amore. You promised you'd fight. For our child. For us." Seraphine tasted salt, her own tears. She wasn't afraid of dying. She was afraid of leaving her child in a world run by violence and vengeance. "I'm so cold," she whispered, voice broken. "We're almost there," Dante insisted, though every second felt like a lifetime, every street, a reminder of how far his reach stretched and how useless power was against fate. Suddenly, Seraphine convulsed. Her body tensed, arching against Dante's grip, a scream tearing from her lips. The fetal monitor blared, erratic. Dr. Chen cursed, working in furious silence. "She's seizing. Give her room." Dante moved only when commanded, but every inch between them hurt. He kept repeating, "You stay. You fight. I need you. We need you. Don't leave me." Outside, his men cleared intersections, guns drawn, blocking traffic with unmarked SUVs and bribes. Nothing was more important than getting Seraphine to the private facility intact. Blood dripped onto his hands. Dante pressed trembling lips to her temple. "You're a warrior," he murmured, voice cracking. "I won't let Chicago bury what's mine." "Not tonight." Seraphine's hand fell limp. Dr. Chen shouted for adrenaline, for oxygen, for something, anything, to keep mother and child alive. The baby's heartbeat slowed, heavy with warning. Dante's phone rang, shrill. He answered only for family. "It's done. Marco is dead. Take down every Corsini asset. Tonight." The car screeched to a halt at the private gate. Security swarmed, opening doors. Seraphine lifted her head for a moment, catching Dante's gaze. Their fear was mirrored, raw, and heartbreakingly fragile. "I love you," she whispered, barely audible. Dante's arms carried her from the car, tossing commands like bullets, no mistakes. "Save them both." The hospital lights swallowed her, and Dante was left on the threshold, soaked in blood. Hers, Marco's, everyone's. His hands trembled. The last thing she registered, the fierce promise in his eyes. "I'll protect you, even if it costs my life." The sterile white of the operating room burned Seraphine's eyes when she flickered back to consciousness. Machines beeped in frantic chorus. Hands moved above her, gloved, precise, urgent. Someone was shouting about blood pressure. Someone else about fetal distress. She tried to speak, but couldn't. A tube ran down her throat, breathing for her. Panic seized her chest. Where was Dante? Where was her baby? "She's awake," a nurse said, alarmed. "Doctor, she's fighting the sedation." Dr. Chen's face appeared above her, lined with exhaustion and fear. "Seraphine, listen to me. We're doing everything we can. You need to stay calm. Let us work." But calm was impossible. She could feel nothing below her waist. Had they already cut her open? Was the baby... The monitor beside her head suddenly flatlined. The sound pierced through everything else, a single sustained note that meant death. Her death. She's coding. Someone screamed. Get the crash cart. Hands pressed against her chest. Hard. Rhythmic. Breaking her ribs with each compression. She floated above it all, watching them work on her body like it belonged to someone else. Was this dying? This strange, detached observation? Then she saw him. Dante stood in the corner of the operating room, still covered in blood. Mako's, hers, everyone's. His face was gray. Empty. Like someone had reached inside and scooped out everything that made him human. He watched the medical team work with the same expression he wore when ordering executions. Their eyes met across the sterile space. And in that moment, Seraphine understood, if she died, so did he. Not physically, but everything that mattered, everything that had made him want to be better, to build something beyond violence, would die with her. Fight, his eyes said. For me, for us. The defibrillator paddles pressed against her chest. Clear. Electricity shot through her. Her back arched. The world went white. Then, a heartbeat. Weak. Irregular. But there, we've got her back? Dr. Chen gasped. But the baby? Another monitor wailed. The fetal heartbeat had dropped to almost nothing. We need to deliver now, a surgeon said. Emergency C-section. She's only 4 months. Do it? Dante's voice cut through the chaos. He'd moved closer, somehow bypassing every protocol, every rule. Save them both. Whatever it costs. The surgeon hesitated. Mr. Ravenna, at 4 months, the chances of survival are... I said, do it. Seraphine felt the knife. Even through the drugs, even through the trauma, she felt them cut into her. Felt them reach inside and pull out something small and impossibly fragile. The room went silent. No one breathed. Then a sound, barely audible. A cry so thin it could have been imagined. The baby's alive, someone whispered. Awed. It's a girl. Their daughter. Seraphine tried to see, but her vision was darkening again. She was losing too much blood. The machines were screaming warnings. Someone was calling for more plasma, more platelets, more time they didn't have. Seraphine... Dante's hand found hers. His voice was raw, broken. Stay. Our daughter needs you. I need you. She wanted to. God, she wanted to. But the darkness was pulling her under, and this time she couldn't fight it. She flatlined again. This time, they worked for 3 minutes. 3 minutes of chest compressions and defibrillator shocks and desperate prayers from people who hadn't prayed in years. 3 minutes of Dante Ravenna, the most powerful man in Chicago, utterly powerless. Then, a miracle. A heartbeat. Faint, but steady. She's back, Dr. Chen said, voice shaking. She's stable. For now, they sewed her up in silence, hands moving with renewed urgency. The baby, barely 2 pounds, translucent skin, lungs not fully formed, was rushed to the NICU in an incubator that looked more like a spaceship than medical equipment. Seraphine woke hours later in a private recovery room. Dante sat beside her bed, still in his blood-soaked tuxedo, holding something impossibly small. Their daughter, wrapped in blankets, tubes and wires connecting her to machines that kept her alive. She's fighting, he said quietly. Like her mother, Seraphine tried to speak, but her throat was raw. Dante understood anyway. He brought their daughter closer, letting Seraphine see her tiny face. Perfect. Features, closed eyes, chest rising and falling with mechanical precision. The doctors say the next 70 to 2 hours are critical, Dante continued. His voice was steady, but his hands shook. The drug caused complications, premature birth, underdeveloped lungs. But she's alive, Seraphine. You both are... Tears slid down Seraphine's cheeks. She'd almost lost everything. Almost left Dante alone in a world that would have consumed him without her. Almost never met this tiny warrior fighting for every breath. Marco? She managed to whisper. Dead. Dante's expression didn't change, along with everyone who helped him. The Corsini family is being dismantled as we speak. By morning, they won't exist. Seraphine should have felt something. Guilt, horror, satisfaction. But all she felt was exhausted relief. The threat was gone. Her family was safe. "What's her name?" she asked. Dante looked at their daughter, something soft breaking through his hardened exterior. Vittoria. Victory. Because that's what she is. 3 days passed in a blur of machines and miracles. Vittoria clung to life with a stubborn ferocity that reminded everyone of her parents. Seraphine recovered slowly, her body healing from trauma that should have killed her twice. When she finally woke fully, truly awake, not floating in morphine dreams, Dante was there. He was always there. But this time, he wasn't alone. A man sat in the corner, beaten, bloodied, zip-tied to a wheelchair. It took Seraphine a moment to recognize him through the swelling and bruises. Salvatore Corsini, Marco's uncle, the head of the Corsini family. "What?" Her voice was hoarse. "A gift," Dante said simply. "I thought you might want to be involved in the final decision." Salvatore's remaining eye, the other was swollen shut, fixed on her with pure hatred. "You're a dead woman walking," he rasped. "Both of you. My family will—" "Your family is gone," Dante interrupted. "Your nephew died screaming. Your soldiers are dead or in custody. Your assets have been seized. Your allies have turned. There is no Corsini family anymore. There's only you." The old man spat blood. "Then kill me and be done with it." "That's not my decision." Dante looked at Seraphine. "It's hers." The room went silent, except for the steady beep of Seraphine's heart monitor. She studied Salvatore, this man who'd ordered her death, who'd tried to kill. Her unborn child, who'd sent Marco to that gala with poison and a smile. The old Seraphine, the art curator who believed in justice and mercy, would have called the police. Would have let the system handle it. But that woman was dead, poisoned along with the champagne 3 nights ago. This Seraphine, the one who'd died twice on an operating table, who'd watched her premature daughter fight for every breath, who'd married into violence and finally accepted what that meant. This Seraphine wanted blood. "Bring him closer," she said. Dante wheeled Salvatore to her bedside. The old man glared at her with defiance that would have been impressive if it wasn't so pathetic. "You tried to kill my baby," Seraphine said softly. "You poisoned me. You sent assassins to my home. You declared war on my family." "Business," Salvatore spat. "Nothing personal. That's where you're wrong." Seraphine sat up straighter, ignoring the pain that lanced through her abdomen. "It was always personal. You saw me as weak, as vulnerable, as an acceptable casualty in your power games." "You are weak?" Seraphine smiled. "It wasn't kind. I died twice and came back. My daughter is alive at 4 months gestation when she shouldn't be. I married the most dangerous man in Chicago and made him want to be more than a killer. Tell me again how weak I am." Salvatore's bravado cracked. "Here's what's going to happen," Seraphine continued. "You're going to confess. Every crime, every murder, every bribe and corruption and scheme. You're going to give the FBI enough evidence to dismantle every remaining criminal organization in Chicago. And then, maybe, I'll let you live. I'll die first." "No." Dante's voice was silk over steel. "You'll die last. After watching everything you built crumble. After seeing your legacy destroyed. After knowing that you failed so completely that history will forget the Corsini name ever existed." He nodded to Luca, who appeared with a laptop and recording equipment. "Talk. Or I let my wife decide your fate. And trust me, she's more creative than I am." It took 6 hours. 6 hours of Salvatore Corsini spilling decades of secrets, his voice breaking, his pride shattered. By the end, he was crying, ugly, desperate sobs that would have moved Seraphine if she had any mercy left. She didn't. When it was done, when the recordings were sent to carefully selected FBI agents and journalists, Dante looked at her one final time. Mercy or justice? Seraphine thought about Vittoria, fighting in the NICU, about the life she wanted for her daughter, one free from the Corsini threat, from old vendettas, from men who thought pregnant women were acceptable targets. "Justice," she said. Salvatore screamed when they dragged him away. Seraphine didn't watch. She was already looking at the tablet Dante handed her, a live feed from the NICU, where their daughter slept, her chest rising and falling on her own now. No more ventilator. No more life support. Just a fighter, getting stronger. It's over, Dante said, pulling Seraphine close. But they both knew the truth. In their world, it was never really over. 6 weeks later, Seraphine walked into another gala. Same venue. Different world. She wore crimson, a statement, a warning. Her hand rested on her stomach, now flat, but marked with scars she wore like armor. Beside her, Dante moved with the same lethal grace, but something had changed. The violence was still there, coiled beneath expensive fabric. But now there was purpose beyond power. They had a daughter to protect. Vittoria was home now, healthy against all odds. 7 pounds of fury in life, with Dante's dark eyes and Seraphine's stubborn chin. A miracle born from poison and trauma, watched over by armed guards and the best medical team money could buy. The gala fell silent when they entered. Every person remembered that night. The screaming, the lockdown, the bodies that were found days later, scattered across Chicago like warnings. The Corsini Empire had fallen in 72 hours, the fastest collapse in organized crime history. Senator Morrison approached first, his nephew Kyle's confession having forced his resignation. He didn't speak, just gave a slight nod of acknowledgement and moved away. Smart man, Vivian Ashcroft was absent. Permanently. Her family had held a quiet funeral 2 weeks ago, citing a tragic accident. No one investigated. No one dared. They're afraid, Seraphine murmured. They should be, Dante replied. His hand found the small of her back, possessive, protective. You died for our family. I made sure the whole city understood what that meant. A waiter approached with champagne. Young, nervous. Seraphine recognized the fear in his eyes, the same terror Kyle Morrison must have felt, knowing what he'd been asked to do. She took the glass. Examined it. The waiter's hands shook so badly the tray rattled. "What's your name?" she asked gently. "T. Thomas, ma'am." "And who hired you, Thomas?" "The Ravenna organization, ma'am. I've worked for your family's events for 3 years. I have 3 security clearances, and my background check is updated monthly." Seraphine smiled. Sipped the champagne. It was perfect. Crisp, clean, untainted. "Thank you, Thomas." The boy nearly collapsed with relief. They moved through the crowd like royalty. No, like something more dangerous. Everyone knew the story now. The pregnant wife, the poison, the brutal revenge. It had become legend in 6 weeks, the kind of story told in whispers to remind people why you didn't cross the Ravenna family. But Seraphine saw something else in their eyes. Not just fear. Respect. She'd survived. Had fought her way back from death twice. Had become something harder, sharper than the art curator who'd walked into this ballroom months ago. "Do you miss it?" Dante asked quietly. "Your old life?" Seraphine thought about gallery openings and wine tastings, about believing. The world was civilized and people were fundamentally good, about the naivety she'd carried like a shield. "No," she said honestly. "That woman couldn't have protected Vittoria. This one can—" Dante's expression softened, the look he reserved only for her and their daughter. "You've changed. We both have—" Her phone buzzed. A photo from their security detail, Vittoria, sleeping peacefully in her nursery. Surrounded by guards and cameras, and enough firepower to start a small war. Safe. Protected. Theirs. Seraphine caught her reflection in a champagne flute. Crimson dress, scars hidden, eyes that had seen death and refused to blink. She barely recognized herself. But that was fine. The old Seraphine wouldn't have survived this world. This one would thrive in it. Dante leaned close, lips brushing her ear. "The mayor wants a meeting. Wants to discuss mutual interests now that the Corsinis are gone. And I'm bringing you. My partner. My equal partner. Equal. Not just the mafia wife, but the woman who'd helped dismantle an empire. Who'd survived attempted murder, who'd fought death itself, and won." Seraphine felt the weight of it. The responsibility, the danger, the power. She thought about Vittoria, about the world they were building for her. It wouldn't be safe. Their world never could be. But it would be theirs, protected by parents who'd proven they'd burn Chicago to the ground before letting anyone harm their family. "Let's go home," she said. To our daughter. They left the gala early, stepping into the Chicago night. Behind them the city glittered, beautiful, dangerous, conquered. And ahead, in a fortified penthouse, their daughter slept, unaware that she was the most protected child in Illinois. Seraphine placed her hand on her stomach, flat now, but forever changed. She'd carried life through poison, had died and been reborn, had become exactly what this world demanded. Not a victim, not a casualty, a queen. And Chicago would remember. If this story resonated with you, then hit that subscribe button right now. And do me a favor, drop a comment below telling me where you're watching from, because tomorrow I'm bringing you another story that's just as wild, just as unbelievable as this one. Trust me, you won't want to miss it.